from Victor O'Schinnerer. Thank you for joining us this afternoon. We're excited about the presentation. Skillbridge is a valuable partner to help to reduce the probability of a loss. We already had one webinar a couple of months ago about Dashlane, which was to help with password management, which is a major cause of loss. And it's an automated turnkey solution for our insureds. Skillbridge is another one of those turnkey solutions that gives you a great selling point for your customers and clients, or a great reason to buy if you're currently a Schinnerer Cyber Protection Package client that takes care of the training aspects of awareness for employees, which is another factor in the large number of losses that happen in cyber insurance today worldwide. So I'm going to turn this over to John Little from Skillbridge. And John, take it away.
Matt, thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you, everyone, for coming. Today, I want to spend a few minutes just talking about my company and what we do. But then I really want to spend the bulk of our time here talking about the LearnCyber.com website that we have deployed with other insurance providers, and which I think could be a really great added value for you guys to offer to your insureds and your policyholders. Just telling you a little bit about my company, and I'm going to be as brief as possible. We really are a training company. We were founded 18 years ago, and when we started up in 2001, we really were operating at the upper end of the technical spectrum with more technical audiences, people like software engineers, network administrators, programmers, and the topics were on programming languages, that type of technology. Really out of opportunity and some of the resources that we had working with us, we got involved quite a long time ago, about 10 years ago, in the cybersecurity training arena. And again, we were starting out with the programmers, but quickly recognized that you needed a more holistic approach to security. So it wasn't just about making sure your code was secure and your networks were hardened, but the big area that needed to be addressed was at the end user market, where a lot of our security breaches occur. So we got involved in cybersecurity and privacy. We then progressed from kind of off the shelf into customized training deliveries. And again, as the training industry has kind of changed over time, so have we. When we opened our doors, most of the work we were doing was more traditional instructor-led or classroom. But nowadays, the vast majority of the training work we do are either a virtual training delivery, something more like what we're doing right here, but a lot more of it is more customized online and web-based training solutions. And that's really what we're going to be talking about at the with the LearnCyber.com website. We work with mostly larger clients, but as we've gotten more involved in the security awareness, we're getting involved more and more with small and medium-sized businesses. So again, I think what you guys really are going to be most interested about is the LearnCyber.com website that we're going to be working on with you guys there. It's an online training solution for your policyholders, and right now there are two courses that are available on it. I'm going to go into both a little bit more into detail, but one is just a general security awareness for end users. And the second one is really geared to people a little bit higher up on the technical spectrum. It might be for more technically sophisticated users. It could be for technically sophisticated managers, IT professionals, and even people in the software development area. A couple of the things that we were really goals when we were creating the site, working with some of our customers. One was to make it very easy for individuals to sign up to take the courses. The site, as you'll see, it relies on self-registration. We didn't want to have the policyholders and the companies trying to upload all of their employee data and information, or trying to do it manually. Instead, we're leaving it up to the employees individually to go to the website and register. We also have built some rudimentary reporting into the site. And again, that's so that people, once a company has signed up and been given access to LearnCyber.com, they can take a look and see which of their employees have started the training, who are in process, who's finished it, and create reports. And I'll talk a little bit more about that in a second. And the third thing was just a simple onboarding process so that when you had a new policyholder or a policyholder who wanted the training, a simple way for you guys to get them on board. I'm going to talk about that last item first, and we're still working through the details there. And so we're not exactly sure what the process is going to be, but I will talk about it and how it's worked hypothetically with other customers and how I think it'll work there. The way that we've had it work with other companies is that we'll identify people within Schinnerer who will be responsible for putting companies into the system. But a client, if they're interested, they can go to the Schinnerer website, and then they can go and click on a link that will lead them to the online education services area. And there's typically been a form that they need to fill out. Part of that form will require them to put in their policy information and maybe a policy number. And again, it's so that only policyholders are gaining access to the site. But again, it can be fairly well automated, most of that, with only the last kind of actual flicking of the switch, if you want to say, can be done very quickly by an individual within your company. But again, it allows for pretty rapid deployment of the system at a new policyholder location. The kind of the core of the whole thing is this self-registration page that you see right here. And this is what when a policyholder wants to make this training available to all of their internal employees, they're going to direct them to this link. And this link, they're going to go, and it's pretty self-explanatory. People with a modicum of technical capability and PC or Apple comfort should be able to get through this without any problem. It's just prompting them for a name, an email address, password, and then a hint question, favorite color, what town did you grow up in, those types of questions. The one item that is kind of note here, and I draw everybody's attention to it. If you're talking with your clients, you may want to mention this. The way in which we identify whether an individual has been granted access is if their domain in their email matches a domain of a client that we've granted access. So if company XYZ.com has access, all employees with the company XYZ.com domain will be granted access. But if one of those employees wanted to use their own personal email address, a Gmail account, or something like that, it wouldn't work. They need to use that company domain. Just it's a little point. Some people run into problems with that, so I just toss it out there for you guys to be aware of. The courses that are currently provided are, I said there were two. You're seeing three. My math isn't wrong. But we have a general security awareness overview course. And again, that's for the vast majority of the users out there. We also have a French-Canadian version. We had a large number of policyholders who were coming up in Canada. And as a result, out of that demand, we created a French-Canadian version. And then we also have the security awareness for IT professionals. I'm going to guess that the end user course is the one that is really going to be of the greatest interest to the majority of your customers. You guys are probably aware, but it's user error, an inadvertent click, opening a bad email, poor browsing habits that account for over 90% of the IT and cybersecurity breaches that we see here in the United States. And in creating the end user course, we went out and we identified what are the major components that are contributing here, and we're trying to address those with this course. I can provide a Word document. Actually, I think I've given it to Jillian, but we can certainly be distributed, that gives a description of what's in these courses. And I know that you guys are going to have access to it yourselves, so you guys can actually go and take these courses. But I'm just going to briefly kind of talk with you a little bit about what these courses cover. The first one, and it really is why security matters, why you practicing safe security habits matter, and what the impact can be if you cause a breach for your company. A lot of people are, believe it or not, are still under the impression that I don't really count. It doesn't really affect me. So that's really, we're trying to overcome that very common objection there. The others are going to be things that I think you may or may not be familiar with. But the first one, and the one that we pay the most attention on, is on social engineering attacks. Ransomware is a very common, a very, very widespread problem right now. And phishing and spear phishing are the most common mechanism or vector that are used in order to bypass corporate IT security firewalls in order to get ransomware installed on machines. So we spend quite a bit of time discussing phishing and spear phishing, what they are and how to avoid it. We also go on and we discuss malware and malware software and how to avoid that type of an attack. And then we also talk, and you could probably dovetail here onto the Dashlane opportunity that your customers have too. Another very major source of cybersecurity breaches is poor password hygiene. And the number of people out there who have password as a password, or use, pass 1234, or use their last name or their date of birth or something like that. Really trying to demonstrate what makes a very good, complicated alphanumeric password. But then again, you could dovetail on there with the Dashlane opportunity and the password management tool that they've got. Again, trying to make sure that they're using more sophisticated passwords that are more likely to hamper a possible attack or a hacker. Again, in the end user course, we're going to talk briefly about safe web browsing habits. And we also touch a little bit on social media and what is recommended or not recommended in that space. So again, this is probably the course that is going to be of greatest interest to your clients. It's about 30 minutes in length. Again, it's pretty approachable. Some sophisticated users are probably going to find it a little redundant, but again, we have to gear it to the lowest common denominator here, not the most sophisticated. So again, that's the course that probably will have the most interest. The second course is the what we call the security awareness for IT professionals, and this could be geared, again, as I mentioned, to a manager. Certainly, a sophisticated end user could get value out of this, and even somebody with some software or business analysis background would appreciate this. But a lot of the course is geared on system administration best practices. So password management, how to manage passwords, why it's not a good idea to allow people to have multiple passwords or dummy passwords. Same thing with account management, the dangers of multiple accounts and dummy accounts. And then also talking about physical access and physical access controls to systems. We also build on that too, and we add on looking at how to securely code software and testing of software. Now, again, some of this is going to be above a very sophisticated user, but again, somebody who's very technically adept would find a lot that is of value in this particular course as well. So, and there's no prerequisite. If you have access to these courses, you can take them as many times as you want. You can take both. There's no requirement from that perspective. So that talks to you a little bit about the content and what they're going to learn in these two courses. The other thing that I think is going to be valuable to your customers, and the thing that they're going to be very interested in, is really talking about tracking and user management. So at each each one of your policyholders or clients, we can appoint one or even a couple site administrators. These administrators are only going to be able to see the data from their own corporation. They're not going to be able to see the data from any of your other policyholders. So if James Smith Inc. has an administrator, they're only going to be able to see the information on track James Smith employees, not anybody else's. People get concerned about that, but we carefully delineate what is viewable and accessible by the different clients. The administrator can manage course users, so if a user enters information incorrectly or needs to have a password changed or things like that, the corporate administrator can go in and do that. But the other important aspect really is for the administrator to be able to monitor the usage and the attendance of these courses. So again, right here, what I'm showing you on the screen is what we call the dashboard. And each one of these little donuts, if you will, or pie charts, represents course usage. Now, this is just at a glance. Well, I'll show you in a second how to get more detailed information. But for example, here you can see that most of the people on the far left here have completed the security awareness course. We still have about 15 people who are incomplete. They've started it, they have not even started it. Whereas if you look at the security awareness in French, no one started that one yet at all. So again, it lets you just at a glance see if you've got a problem here. But really, the next step up is probably going to be just as important as that at a glance look. You can, for each company, get drill down to the individual and download this as an Excel spreadsheet. So you're able to see which of your users have registered, if they've started the course, if they've finished the course, and where they are in the course. And you can look at this live online, but you can also download this into an Excel spreadsheet. And that really is going to allow you to either create ongoing email campaigns to keep on encouraging your kind of stragglers to complete the training. It also can be the basis for any reporting requirements you've got in regards to any cyber or IT security training you're doing. So again, it's very rudimentary. If people out there are familiar with what a learning management system is or an LMS, I wouldn't consider this to give you all of those capabilities, but it does give you some of the basic capabilities that are required in this space. And that's really, given what we're offering and everything, I think what they're going to need at this point. It also is very easy for anybody to use, whereas an LMS takes a lot more training. So that really was the decision why we went this route. That is I've gone through fairly quickly that in the entire programs and kind of the reporting that's capable there. But again, I know that each of you are able to, I believe, will have access to go and look at the courses yourselves. I would encourage you to do that and go through them. But at this stage, I wanted to open up if there are any questions or items that you guys wanted to ask me about. So I'm all set at this end.
Hi, John. We did have one question that came in about the email issue that you mentioned. They said that a lot of their clients who are most likely real estate agents use Gmail and Yahoo email accounts. So do you have any recommendations?
Recommendations? I do. What I would recommend in that instance, instead, because we really do not want to use a Yahoo or a Gmail or a broadly used email domain what I would recommend that the company do is ask their users to use a fictitious email address, but using the corporate domain. We do not have any logic built into the site to test whether the email is active for this exact reason. We want, if a company wants to provide access to somebody who does not have a corporate account, they can just make up a fictitious account. There's no rules or requirements about it. It can be, john.doe@companydomain.com.
All right, another question. Is there a fee for the policyholders at all to access this?
There is not. If they want to pay me when they can, but there is no fee.
Okay, another follow-up on that email question. What happens if there is no domain, if there is no company domain at all? You mentioned fictitious.
We have not. We could, in that instance, what I would recommend be done is we create a dummy domain. We've never run into that issue, so I don't have but I would say that's what I would recommend doing.
All right, sorry. One other. Are additional services provided for a fee?
Absolutely, yes. That would be looked at on a case-by-case basis. We certainly can come in and provide additional services, and it would just be working directly with Skillbridge at that point.
Okay. No other questions at this time. If there's anything else you want to cover?
No, I appreciate everybody's time. I hope this worked out. Please work with Jillian and Matt. Don't if any other questions come up as you go through this, don't be afraid to coordinate with them. But I'm happy to try and address those as they come up.
Great. And just so you know, I will be sending out a copy of this presentation along with instructions on how to get started. We will have a webpage on Schinnerer.com with all of this information stored, the course descriptions that John mentioned, and again, a link and information on how to get started. So stand by for that over the next couple days.
All right. Thank you very much, everyone. Have a great afternoon. Thanks, John.
You're very welcome, guys.